Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife Kara's busy, and today we are going to be doing the good and bad review on the Rockstead Higo. We are also going to be cutting with it. It will be the first time I'm cutting with it in this video. I think I cut one thing with it, and I know I'm either going to hear, oh man, you're doing a review without, you never even used it, never even cut with it, or two, I'm going to get a bunch of crap because I am cutting with it, because this is a very expensive knife. So one of the two is going to happen. Either way, regardless, I wanted to kind of use it on camera. Now, like I said, I think I cut one thing with it one time, but I really have not used it. I really haven't cut with it, but I feel like it'll make the video a little bit better. Not a lot of people show using a Rockstead Higo. This is a very expensive knife, so, and the precision of these knives are just off the charts, and a lot of other things, including this blade, and we'll talk about that in a second. First, I have to thank Mr. Amazing once again for being so amazing to our channel and just really making our year, I can't even say that, really showing how generous people can be in this community and just people in general. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. And this knife is amazing. One, you can just see that beautiful drop point mirror polished blade. Beautiful wood handles, ironwood handles. It is basically a frame lock. I know it's a liner lock, but the lock bar is so thick, it's basically a frame lock. So let's get into this thing really quick, and then we'll talk some more about it. This thing is 8 1/4 inches total length with a 3.5 inch blade. Basically the same length as the Hogue Ritter RSK MK1. It's actually just a slight bit longer than it. Speaking of the Hogue Ritter RSK MK1, it's our giveaway knife this month for the patrons. So if you want a chance to win monthly giveaways, you got to become a patron. We do giveaways on the channel as well, so you still have a chance to win something as long as you stay tuned and watch our channel. You'll keep up with when we do giveaways, because we do have one coming up here very soon. It's also the same size as the Manix 2. Here is the TRM Atom, which is a very good size comparison as well. It's a pretty common blade length and knife length for a full-size EDC. So, let's get into this blade. So, the blade is just absolutely beautiful. I love this blade shape. This is like my favorite blade shape. Drop point blade, and it's a perfect example of a drop point blade. Now, this one is a flat ground blade, and if you look, you do not see an edge bevel. Here is an edge bevel. You see on the Hogue Ritter RSK MK1, if it'll focus, you see the edge bevel right here where I sharpened it. Now this one does not have the edge bevel. It's basically a zero grind. I know a lot of people call it a Scandi grind. You can call it whatever you want, but either way, there's no edge bevel. It just goes right down to the edge, which makes this very hard to measure the behind the edge thickness. Now I measured it as pretty much as close as I could behind what would be maybe the edge bevel, and it was, I mean, right directly behind it was like 5 thousandths, and if I moved up just a little bit, it was like 8 thousandths. So, but this is not a thin blade stock. Look at it next to the Benchmade Griptilian. It's a little bit thicker than the Benchmade Griptilian. So it is a relatively thick blade stock, and then you can see the tip. It's got a robust tip, but still a very useful tip because it's such a straightforward design. You can get right to the tip and use it. And like I said, we are going to be using it here in just a moment. The jimping, sorry, it's got jimping on the spine right there and on the back of the handle. You got jimping down here, and then this jimping right here is very useful. It helps you get up right up tight to the blade without slipping, because it's actually very grippy, unlike the back side. So you can get up right up tight to the blade for push cuts, and you can use and take advantage of getting right up tight to the blade. The sharpening choil is done perfect. I love the way they did the sharpening choil. This is the way I like to see sharpening choils done. You know, it's especially leaving a little bit of meat on the bones, or you can get a couple sharpenings on it before it'll really get thick. You can see how perfectly symmetrical. That's another thing with this, is that it's the precision on this thing is done so well. Everything is just lined up and just so perfect on this thing. It's hard to find flaws, but there's still some bad things, and we'll get into that in a second. Now, this thing, it does have, if you look right here, you can see this little puncture right there. That is where they tested it for the HRC. Now, the HRC on this, I think, was 66.3. It was in the 66. I'm pretty positive about that. I forget exactly 100% what it was, but it's like right around 66. Now, the thing is with that, if you don't know, so that's one of the things about Rockstead, is that they do insane heat treats on their knives. Not only do they do great quality heat treats, which is the most important, they do high heat treats, which 66 is very high. Now, that wouldn't go so well on every steel. It's not that you can just take any steel and just put the highest heat treat you can on it and it'll go good. That's not the way it goes. But there are certain steels that do better with a very high HRC. Now, there's going to be a point of which it's going to get brittle. But this steel, and the way they do their heat treat, and the way they bring it up to such a high HRC, makes it to where it has great edge retention, and then it also strops back amazingly well. At least that's what I've heard. Now, that's not my experience because I haven't been cutting with it, but that's what I've heard. And I've watched videos of Rockstead using knives and them stropping it right back, and it's just a razor. And this thing, as of right now, it is incredibly sharp. I mean, the edge on these things are just insane, especially because how they go down to a zero grind. Now, I'm not going to say that it's sharper than any edge I've ever put on a knife, because I've put some really sharp edges on knives, but it is done so well, and it is very, very sharp. Now, the lock bar access, you can see the lock bar access. You can get to it perfectly fine. It feels very good. There's a lot of tension on it, and you can feel the strength from that lock bar. Now, you can get to these thumb studs so well. These are great thumb studs. I love these thumb studs. Not only does it leave a little tiny sharp point right there with that little edge, but it also sticks up very high, and it's very easy to get to. These are on phosphor bronze. It's not very drop shutty, but with the lock bar tension off, it's very easy to just do it in a 1-2 motion. Just 1, 2. You can reverse flick it very easily. The slow roll is very luxurious. It's like a consistent smoothness. From here to here, it's just consistent. You can feel the tension of the lock bar pushing on it. So it's definitely got like where it'll just stop when you move it. So it's not like, say, a knife on bearings in any way. But it's just a consistent amount of tension the whole way. It never like gets lighter or stronger. Very consistent. So when you slow roll it, you just feel very controlled. The detent, when you pop it out, you can hear this. It's very clicky. So click it out. Now the other one I messed with had a light detent. This one has a stronger detent in a good way. Pop it out, and then it just slowly goes around, and then from here to here you can really hear that lockup. I mean, you can feel it. Or you can just do it with one flip. Getting behind these thumb studs is incredibly easy. I mean, you can just see. I mean, look at all the room I have, even with the reverse flick. Now, unlocking it, like I said, you can just let it drop, but the detent ball is right there. It's super early. Like literally, as soon as you unlock it, you're past the detent ball, so it's very easy to just push it back closed. And when you hit the detent ball, you feel it right there, and then it locks into place. Love the sounds of this thing. It sounds amazing. The stop pin is very big. You can see the stop pin right there. Massive stop pin. Love the size of this stop pin. You can also see the weight relief in there. Lots of weight relief. Now, the lock geometry is very nice. Nice, strong lockup. I've already tested it and checked it on. This thing is locked up so strong, you can't get nothing out of it yet. It's Sebenza smooth. That's a good way to put it. It feels a lot like a Sebenza with a lot better thumb studs. A lot better thumb studs. And a lot better action. So, we could just say that. Now, the ergos are so neutral. They are so comfortable. You know, it kind of reminds me of my Gale Bradley in a way, but with contouring. Because it's very round in the hand. Everything's contoured very nice, and it just feels super comfortable in the hand. Now, the hardware, there's only these two pieces right there. Bang, bang. I haven't took off this wood inlay. Obviously, there's nothing under there though, because you would be able to see it. So you just have this screw and the pivot, which supposedly, you know, that's extremely hard to get that type of precision where everything lines up perfectly with only two spots. That says a lot about the precision. You see the just jimping all over. Has a beautiful lanyard hole, perfectly centered. I mean, look at the tolerances are just amazing. But yeah, the ergos are fantastic. Even right here, the way it sits right in your palm when you're holding it, you really feel locked in, not only with all that jimping, but just how contoured, round, and the depth with the thickness, it just feels so good in the hand. It really does. You can get up really tight to that blade. Now, I did cut myself pretty bad with this thing, and then because of that cut, it led to another cut, where I technically stabbed myself, and I have a nerve severed in my thumb right now. I can't even feel my thumb at all. Can't feel my thumb whatsoever. There's no feeling. Now, if I hit it, it shocks me really bad because the nerves are like trying to grow back, and it barely touched me. It literally just went like that to me, and it went right to the bone. And then because my finger was unoperable, I was cutting something else a few days later, and I didn't have a good squeeze on it with this hand while I was slipping and stabbing my damn nerve. It happens. When you play with knives, you get cut. It just is what it is. So what are some bad things? Well, why don't we cut some stuff and then we'll talk about the bad. So, let's get to it. All right. Oh, no. Does this piece have tape on it? All right, no. I have a piece in there with tape on. I just want to set it aside and then cut it separately. Very, very nice. Let's do a diagonal cut. Oh yeah, that thing goes through like butter. It really does. I'm gonna compare it to another knife that I know is, you know, let me just grab my Mannix. This has thinner geometry from the spine. You can look at it. You can see how much thinner it is. Not crazy thinner, but you can see it is thinner. I just want to... yeah, because of that edge bevel, you can really feel that this thing just goes through so much easier. And it's easier to only get a little bit with this thing if I want to. Like, it'll literally just scrape the top of it if I want to. Yeah, it goes through way easier. That I don't even need to do any more cuts. I can just feel it. I know a lot of people would think it's weird to think that this is so amazing and all this other stuff, but I really got to thank Mr. Amazing, man. He's really made it to where this is a possibility and I'm able to use a Rockstead. All right, we got some stuff from the post office. Let's cut off this flap. Oh, yeah. Man, it just cuts so good. You know what else I noticed? It feels very controllable. Like, I feel like I can control it a lot. Now, I have to say, ever since it bit me, you know, we've had a pretty close relationship ever since it got me. But I have been kind of, you know, hesitant because I don't want to let it slip, because there's another thing, it doesn't have the clip, so you don't have that thing to hang on to, kind of. It feels more like a fixed blade in your hand. Man, this thing just goes through like butter. Now, I do have some diamond stropping compound from Neeves that I don't know if I'll be using on this thing or not. I'm going to use it a little bit more and make sure it keeps that mirror edge on the, and then I'll use it if so. Otherwise, I'll buy some other stuff. Let's do a utility cut. Oh man, did I cut my... I did. I cut my damn thing a little bit. All right, let me, let's go straight. You know what, let's use the tip. I was trying not to push really hard. Okay, it almost went all the way through, but not quite. Which is alright. Oh, you know what? It went all the way through, but this little tiny layer. Alright, let me grab some of these so I can put this underneath. Now I can push. Oh, man! I even went all the way through. That thing just cuts so good. Let's go this way. I'm stabbing through. Now, I don't want to... this isn't a knife I'm going to abuse. I know I use all my knives. All my knives are tools. But, you know, there's different tools for different jobs. This is a different kind of knife for me. Some people might call it a gent knife, something like that. I don't really have gent knives. I know what a gent knife is, and I understand it. And there are times where I have to go to funerals and weddings and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't know if I would carry it like that. Maybe, I guess maybe, but it would be carried on a belt, and you don't really carry anything on your belt when you're wearing a suit. So I'm still kind of finding the position of where it's going to be in my life. Like, meaning like where I'm going to carry it and what I'm going to carry it for. Or if I'm just going to keep it around the house to cut stuff up. Man, it cuts so good. Let me clean this up and we'll talk about the bad. Forgot to cut the piece with the tape. Yeah, barely any resistance. I just wanted to do that. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's what happens with tape. It is what it is. We'll get it off really quick though. Hopefully. So, hopefully we didn't scratch it any. Let me clean this off. Good as new. So, didn't scratch it, which is good. I'm kind of worried about scratching it, but then I don't want to be worried about it. So, let's just get into the bad. So, that's one bad thing. I'm worried about scratching it because of that mirrored edge, because I feel like once you put a big old scratch across it, it's just going to look ugly. But then in the back of my mind, I like scratches. I don't mind scratches on my tools. Tools are meant to be scratched. I'm okay with that. So I don't want to be that guy. But when it's this nice and this beautiful, but I've heard that when you get the compound and you make the right strop, which I'm going to do, you're supposed to make it out of denim jeans, and you're supposed to put the compound on the denim jeans, and then it's supposed to bring it right back. So it's not only the mirror polish, but also the edge. So we will see how that goes. People are probably thinking, can you front flip it? No, you can't, because when you try to, you wind up hitting this little corner right there. But you can pop it out and then get it from behind here and roll it around. And if you do it fast, it's like that. So you can do it with some wrist. It's just you got to put a bunch of wrist behind it. Not a bunch. I guess that's not a bunch. But you can't just like go like this and go bang. Anyways. So, that's kind of a cool thing, though, that you can do that, though, if you want to. It's just not fluid without that wrist. So, other bad things. So, the next bad thing is that there's no clip I like the security of a clip under my hand and going in my belt. I would love to be able to hook this thing on my belt. Man, I would love to do that. That's probably the worst part for me, is that it doesn't have a clip. Now, it's okay because I got this thing, so it's not that big of a deal. You know, I do have a way to carry it. Also, I forgot to say that the tools in there for you to take it all apart. Nice big hardware. And then if you look at the hardware, look at this. Rockstead. Says it right on the hardware. Very beautiful. Very big, good hardware. Good quality hardware. Like that. Next bad thing. And this is probably going to be the biggest for everybody else. And then we'll get to some small things. The frame or liners are steel. I'm not sure exactly the right word, what they are, but they're magnetic. They're not titanium. So I've put a magnet to these. They are not titanium. I thought they were titanium until I put a magnet to them. Now, I know they have titanium versions, or at least I think they do, but they have lots of weight relief, so it feels like a good weight in the hand, but it definitely feels heavier than what titanium would feel like. But that's probably going to be, people are probably screaming right now at their cameras saying, it's not titanium. No, it's not titanium. I don't know exactly. I'm guessing it's just steel. I should look that up exactly what it is, but I'm pretty sure it's just stainless steel. But very strong lockup, and there's nothing wrong with steel. It's just that it rusts. That's the thing. And it's heavy, right? So the reason why we love titanium so much is because it doesn't rust and it's light. It's as strong as steel. Pound for pound, it's stronger than steel, but it's still basically the same strength. It's just titanium doesn't weigh as much. Do you see what I'm saying? Pound for pound. But thickness, it's still the same strength, but it's way better in being stain resistant. Now, I also heard that titanium has a little bit better memory than steel. I don't know how true that is, so I don't know if that's a fact or not, but supposedly it has a little bit better memory when you bend it. So meaning like when you bend it like this, right, and then you try to bend it back, it'll push back because it has good memory, like for a lock bar. Now, steel has a good memory as well, especially when it's heat treated right, meaning like you'd want it at a little bit lower of a Rockwell because you want it to be able to bend and not snap or whatever. Man, this thing slow rolls so nice. So beautiful. So, other little things. So, the jimping back here this is just like a wave, and it's slippery. It's not, there's no jimping here. You have this jimping right there, so I guess it kind of catches you right there, but I'll be honest, the thumb studs catch you more than the jimping. So you can put your hands above the thumb studs, and those actually act a little bit better. We're going to go over some more good things here in a second. So now, in a reverse grip, that works great. This, not the jimping or anything, but I'm just saying it feels so good in reverse grip and in a stabbing grip, especially in a stabbing grip, because you have this jimping, which works amazingly well. I don't know why they didn't do this same type of jimping right there, because, man, you're really locked in like this, because your thumb, it's like biting your thumb. But up here, it's not so much. Now, the jimping right here is done great. So I think they missed the ball right there, you know, and it's because of this ridge. It's up higher than the jimping. The jimping really doesn't even start till like right there forward. So that's another thing. Another thing is, if you need warranty service or anything, I heard that if you sell it or if somebody gave it to you or anything like that, that it won't hold true. I don't think that's true. I don't know if that's true. That might be true. I don't know. I don't care. Because I wouldn't tell them. I would just, you know, tell them I bought it or something. Maybe there's not a way to know. I don't know. But I'm not planning on needing to send it in, but I also am scared to sharpen it because the type of edge it is. Now, in reality, in the future, I could be like, I don't care, I'll sharpen it right now. It's just right now, as fresh as it is, I'm scared to. But in all reality, I probably could sharpen this back to this exact mirror. You know, probably. But it makes me nervous because I'd only have one shot. Being able to send it to Japan and have them do it, they would put the edge back on it, put the mirror back on it, whatever. Pretty sure they have a good warranty and everything. It's just, I heard on, if you bought it secondhand, it's not, it doesn't really matter, or you can't use it. But, you know, other than that, being able to send it to Japan and have them put a new edge on it, you know, if that's not possible, then I would just do it myself, and it wouldn't bother me one bit. I don't really care. Like I said, I would do the stropping technique. This video is going on way longer than I wanted it to. I love you guys. The knife is amazing. I love the knife. It is over $1,000. It's a very expensive knife. It's not a knife I can recommend because of the price. But if you are wanting to feel real precision, I mean, there's a lot of knives with amazing precision. But these Rocksteads, man, they really are amazing. But they're not for everybody. They really aren't. And I know that. And there's a lot of knives that you can get this type of... I don't know about this. You can get pretty close to Rockstead precision from a lot of knives for hundreds and hundreds less. Like even like the Chris Reeve Sebenza. I mean, that's a good example. I love you guys. Peace.